Okay, so thank you for agreeing to redo the pre-conference. I'm sorry that the video was wiped out, but let's just move on to this question. So you told me that the kids will be working on word problems with money. So what skills do the students need to know in order to be successful in this lesson?
Um,
Miss, excuse me, can I say some tissue in the class?
So once again, thank you for agreeing to redo our pre-conference. I apologize that the video was deleted. So we talked about the students needing to be able to solve word problems dealing with money. So what do the students need to know in order to be successful in this lesson?
First, they need to be readers, um, which that's a deficit area for my students. However, what I'm doing is showing them different buzzwords so that they can be fully acclimated with the lesson. So we started out with counting money.
Daniel at the door.
So describe the varied learning needs of the students in your class.
We have level classes here, and I have a lower level class. Um, Most of them are not very fluent readers, um, and the others are emergent readers. So I would say there are various different learning styles in my class.
Okay, so how will you differentiate your instruction?
Um, Basically, because the classes are level, I would utilize different tools for different groups. Because they all are on different levels, I would use different manipulatives. For the students that are visual learners, for my students that are auditory learners, I would have some hands-on things for them as well.
Are there any particular grouping structures in place in your class?
What we use a weekly assessment to determine our groupings. So basically, the students are given a test, or an assessment of 10 questions, and it would determine if the students met the standard or if they need further assistance with the standard. So that's how we form our groups.
Okay. And how will you assess whether or not the students met the objective for the lesson?
Based on that assessment, if they meet the standard, that means they will pass the assessment. If they don't, that means that they need some more remediation.
Okay. Is there anything in particular you want me to observe with regard to the areas that the students need to work on?
Not particularly, but I mean, you'll see that when I do the lesson, I'm going to pretty much reintroduce them to money, as opposed to just jumping right into the word problems.
Oh, so they have worked on money before, so this is kind of like a refresher.
They've worked on money before, however, they have not worked on word problems with money.
Okay. But they have worked on word problems, like using the cube system and everything.
Cube system, but cubes also requires you to read,
right.
Which is a deficit area.
Okay, so what are your plans for the lesson closure and reflection?
I'm probably going to do a ticket out of the door, and the students will be able to demonstrate if they have an in-depth knowledge of the skills that I teach them.
Okay. Are there any other special circumstances that I should be aware of?
No, just again, they're a pretty low group of students. However, they've made tremendous gains. They've grown a lot, but just kind of, it's different.
Yeah. So is there anything else you would like to discuss before the observation?
No.
Okay. Okay, so I came in and observed you doing a math lesson that was focusing on word problems with money. And so when I came in, I saw that the students were watching a Brain Pop video, and you did some hands-on activities with them dealing with coins, and then I saw your closing. So based off of your lesson, how do you think the class went?
Well, it was that particular lesson was to get them reacclimated with dealing with money. So showing the Brain Pop video was to just get them back into, knowing what the different denominations of coins meant. and how much they represented. The hands-on activity was more of just to get them in the feel of counting money. We use this thing called hairy money, counting, where the students would count by fives to count the. So you've seen that in the video.
Mm-hmm. So how do you feel about your teaching during the class, during this lesson?
I find that when I use hands-on manipulatives, the students are pretty much more engaged as opposed to just kind of shooting from the hip. If I give them something to work on, they can pretty much get it. And again, the hairy money is definitely something that they utilize and that causes them to grasp the concept.
Yeah, your students really benefit from hands-on instruction, I can tell. Because if I just were to stand in front of them, I just feel like they would kind of get lost. They need that hands-on element because you did where they had to get up and move around and everything like that. So I thought that was really good.
And I have a lot of students that are probably not, quote unquote, identified as having some special concerns or special needs. So I find that them being able to get up, move around, and interact with the other students, it causes them to also grasp the concept. Kind of trying to take a kinesthetic approach to the whole learning process.
Okay. So how did students accomplish the goals you had planned for this class?
Well, they were able to count the money, so I guess once we've determined that they're able to count money, now we need to transition into the whole word problem venture.
Yeah, and that was going to be, I guess, one of my questions. Like, they have grasped counting money, and they did a very good job with that. But I was just wondering how we can transition them into being able to actually read the word problems if they're struggling. Because they won't be able to master the standard if they can't, read.
Absolutely. What I've created was 2 anchor charts. One that says, it has all the buzzwords for addition, and then I have another anchor chart that has all the buzzwords for subtraction. So I'm thinking that if I can get them to see those buzzwords, and then we can also pull in the cubes chart to help them understand. So I'm really going to have to kind of break it down, decompose, do whatever I need to do to meet the unique needs of those students.
That's true. So is there anything that worked well for you in class? I know we talked about the hands-on, but anything else in particular that you liked?
Well, because the standard is word problems, we have not got to that part yet. But what has really worked well is the hairy money. And basically, it's just skip counting. It's skip counting by fives for the quarter, the nickel, and the dime. And when they get to the penny, they know not to add any hairs to the money. So,
and that's actually a visual aid for them too, so that's good as
right.
well. Okay. So is there anything that did not work well or that you disliked during your lesson?
I can't say there's anything that I dislike. I would probably fine tune it next time by probably adding more money, less pennies, but more of the quarters, the nickels, and the dimes, so that it will give them an opportunity to count the money. And maybe I could have created a word problem that we went over in class. Maybe it would be combining the money from different groups. If Group A had 75 cents and Group B had 30 cents, how much do they have in all? So that's probably what I'll do today to kind of implement the whole word problem thing and walking them step by step through that process.
Okay. So based off of this lesson and just in general, what do you think your teaching strengths are for this particular group?
Definitely using hands-on manipulatives. Again, this bunch of students, they really, really benefit from just hands-on. I can't get up and lecture them. I can't get up and I can show them how, but I need them to learn how by doing. So I found that is the best way to reach them.
So since you've done money before, did you notice anything that you improved on while you were teaching this lesson?
Well, for me, it was kind of an aha moment for me because the students did grasp the whole hairy money concept. I kind of stumbled across that, but it was good.
Yeah, and when I watched the video again, and while I was in there, it's funny because I didn't see any type of deficit or anything in your classroom just based off of that. Like going in, looking at the lesson, watching you teach, I wouldn't know that the students were low.
Well, I think it's the way I drive my instruction. I will say that they're stronger in math than they are in reading. And I like to capitalize on that because I like to give students an opportunity to feel like they are mastering something or they are excelling. But again, the hands-on manipulatives work really well with them in the area of math. Reading, again, is their deficit area. But I'm tending to focus more on what their strengths are, and in math, that they're pretty fluent with math.
But what I will say is just knowing your students and seeing where they have come from, their confidence has really grown from the beginning of the year to now. Like,
Right. Their confidence has grown because I feel like as teachers, it's our responsibility to help them not just achieve academic excellence, but they also need to be able to feel that they can,
Right.
That they're not failures. It's interesting that our classes are leveled here, but the students know it. The students, they say, well, that's a smart class. We in the slow class or the low class. And I tried to change that whole concept, that whole mentality, or that whole thought process, that mindset. So their confidence has grown, and not just to toot my own horn, but I mean, I believe in them. So,
And that's true. And sadly, a lot of teachers, they come in with a preconceived notion about certain students, but they forget that they're human beings, and outside of school, you don't want that to translate into other things. If they feel like they're failures in school, it'll translate into other things outside of school. So.
I mean, we spend a great deal of time here with the students, and I feel like we have to meet the unique needs of the students, whether it be socially, academically, whatever. We can make a difference. We spend a lot of our students, we spend more time with them there, and their actual parents do. So I feel like if we make a difference, it will help them in life.
Okay. And I agree with that. I mean, we briefly touched on this, but what are some teaching problems besides them not being able to read that you think that they still might need to improve on? I know you had to constantly redirect. I mean, that's one thing. I think they've gotten better because I remember last year. But anyway, they've gotten much better. But that's one area of improvement that I saw. And that's not just with you as a teacher, just in general, just redirecting. But what do you think are some other elements in your classroom that might need some improvement?
Well, this is probably not a problem for the students, but I think it would probably be a problem for administration. But I'm not a proponent for the leveled classes. I feel like there needs to be a balance. Because when there's not a balance, if you have a whole bunch of low students, or it's just not a balance. So, that doesn't speak to different strategies, but I think that would definitely improve the way lessons are derived or lessons are given. So that's one thing. And I noticed you mentioned the question about differentiation, and just my thought process about differentiation. We have level classes and we might major so much on differentiation. However, the assessments are not differentiated. So it's kind of a cloudy or gray area for me.
And I will agree with that too. And even with assessments, like they are doing all this personalized learning and being in groups. But when they're taking the test, they don't have anybody there to help them in a group setting. So I kind of think we're setting them up for failure just a little bit. But.
Well, I concur. But again, I think things start at the head and has to trickle down to the teachers. And when the teachers get it, then the students will get it, and then it makes for a better environment. an environment conducive for learning, for student achievement. I just think we have to be more deliberate and intentional about trying to meet the needs of these students. Is what looks good on paper is not always what's best for students. If we're given ABC method, and we know that ABC method does not work for the little Johnnies in our class, then I think we should be given the autonomy to do what we need to do or what we deem necessary for our students that we spend a great deal of time with. And again, that would speak to administration as well. They can come in and get a brief snapshot of what's going on in the classroom and tell you what you need to do,
Right.
but we spend the majority of the time with students. So if anyone knows, it's the teacher that knows this is what's best for my students. This is what's going to move my students. And I think that I've done a lot that has caused my students to move. A lot of my students came on pre-K or kindergarten levels. Are they second grade levels now? No, but they've made tremendous gains. So I'll just keep working and keep pushing.
After I looked at your video and I took a step back and I thought about what I could do better as being a teacher leader or being the grade level chair. We kind of talked about this before, but we as a grade level just need to collaborate more. I feel like we could help each other with resources. Like your students struggle with reading, but since they struggle with reading, like we could all come together and come up with different strategies and resources to help one another so the kids can grow. So that's one thing that I definitely want to work on as a leader so that we can dedicate more time towards that. And then everything will be a little bit more consistent as well. One thing that I found online for you, maybe that can help your students, and you probably already do this, but they said one way to help students who struggle with reading with word problems is just to focus on the key words. So here's a little handout. And for addition, it would be Bates. So the students would just find these keywords right here. Both all together, in all, total, and sum for addition. And then for subtraction, it's called 3, 2, 1. So they look for these 3 M's, these 2 L's, and then the rest down here.
Okay.
So that could be some type of strategy. And then this website also had videos on showing you, different strategies on how to teach children to read word problems who struggle.
So this website is for the teacher to watch, not the student.
Well, it's YouTube videos, so I think it's some for the teacher and also some for the students as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll continue to find different resources to help you, and then we'll come together with collaborating. Because I feel like we all need that, because I need some resources and strategies as well to help my students.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have any other questions or concerns about your lesson or any other comments?
No, I guess today we'll just kind of dive into the whole word problem part of the standard. But I will definitely incorporate this that you just gave me into my lesson for today.
Okay, well, just let me know if you need anything, and then I'll continue to give you resources and strategies to help your students.
Thank you.